All right, you guys. Yes, twice in one day. As I said, I wanted to come back on and I wanted to talk separately about self-love and what that actually means, especially in the Neville community. So I will do this twice today. Uh, okay, so let's talk self-love. All right, this is easy. This is like the easiest topic in the world for me. This is how I was raised. This is what my mother instilled in me. This is what was drilled and inserted into my life from the time I was 4, 5 years old until like 15 or 16 when I was allowed to date. And so before then, I got an earful as to the topic. All right. So in this Neville community, many of you, when you guys are talking, you can accept that everything is you and you can accept that you've created your illusion. And so here's the catch and the trap that I really want to talk to you guys about, all right? When you are instructed to turn the other cheek because you want to change the reality, that does not mean accept ill behavior. It doesn't mean that at all, okay? So let's talk about that. Let's think about this for a minute, okay? You are teaching others how to love you. First and foremost, the relationship is with you. This doesn't change in the inner world any more than it changes in the outer world. Both are one and the same thing. And so the trap here, you guys, is if you're part of the Neville community and you realize that you've created everything, what we tend to do is turn the other cheek, but accept bad behavior and call that okay because we self-created it. And so what happens in this case is you enable a narcissist. Do you? Do you get what I'm going with that? All right, so we want to avoid these traps. And the way that you avoid these traps is by first and foremost knowing that you never stop teaching someone how to love you. It is not in any way loving to yourself, okay, to accept someone treating you badly. Okay, you are participating in this role, in this exercise, but ill treatment is not acceptable, ever. Okay, now I was raised a certain way, and because I was raised a certain way, I've always treated a certain way. Okay, I didn't know the design. Like now, I can look back in retrospect and be like, oh, that's why I was always treated wonderfully. My mama immunized me towards all this stuff. Okay, but the reason that is because my mother taught me a few things. First and foremost, the one thing she said, and this is gonna sound crass, but it's true, okay? And I'm sorry because I don't mean to hurt anyone's feelings, but my mom used to always say this: it is way better, Cindy, for you to be alone than to accept someone's ill behavior. That is not acceptable, because what you're saying when you accept something that is not okay with your boundaries, disrespect, abuse, narcissism, you know where I'm going with this, right? Any type of abuse, other women, any of this stuff, when you've accepted this, what you've said is, my needs don't matter, and whatever you want goes, okay? Think about how much that hurts your soul inside, okay? Because your result of that is going to be the person outside of you doesn't care, like at all, like doesn't care. Why should they? You've just said that it's okay to treat you like any witchy way, and so because you've said that's okay, then that's what you receive, okay? People get upset with me a lot, okay, when I say that the only toxic relationship you will ever have is the one you have with yourself, because everyone else reflects that. They get really mad and angry because they are stuck in victim mode, right? And they get upset with me when I say, well, it's nice that you've never been treated bad. I'm like, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is how to prevent things, and that I exist as what is possible when you know how to love yourself. You immunize yourself, you inoculate yourself against all ill treatment because it's not acceptable, okay? So first and foremost, You have to know what your boundaries are. You have to know what you want out of a relationship. You have to set these clear expectations. You have to take your time to get to know people and make sure that they know what your boundaries are. And you cannot, in any form, shape, or form, ever, okay, accept less than stellar behavior, because you are not teaching the other person how to love you properly, are you? The relationship was with you. My daughter's father, he used to say this. He's like, I think I'm going to get in trouble with the male community, but I don't think women realize how much power they exercise over men. They think that they have a say, and they don't. If they want a relationship with you, the rules are by you. And these poor women who have forgotten that they're the ones who get to decide how they're treated, I feel sorry for them. Like, I know I just went against all male codes by telling you this. And I heard this when I was 20. Now, why did I hear this when I was 20? Because my mother used to teach me the same thing from when I was little. So all he did was mirror back exactly what my mother used to teach me. Okay, so I got insider information. But that insider information serves you. It's so important to take radical responsibility for yourself, but it's also important for you to understand how to convey your needs. If you cannot convey your needs, why do you expect someone to read your mind? Okay? This is important, you guys. It's really, really important. You have to think about this, because at the end of the day, you are still teaching someone how to love you. And if you in any way fear losing this relationship, then you're going to behave differently. You're going to not make waves, okay? Because you're afraid to speak up. You're going to treat someone reactively as if they're losing you. You're going to accuse them of hurting you. You're going to set this expectation unconsciously, and you're going to set yourself up for failure, because at the end of the day, if you don't know you're the one, he can't or she can't know that either. Okay? And this isn't just feminine based. This goes all the way around. If you truly love yourself, you will have boundaries and have no problem saying them up front. No problem. Like, for example, for me, you want to know what my boundaries are? They're so simple. They're so simple. You want a relationship with me? There is absolutely no cheating. I will not hesitate twice. Like a limb with gangrene, I will cut this limb off, and I will never speak to you again. So if you want to run that risk and lose the best thing you ever had, then be my guest, because I won't think twice to leave. Okay? I stick to that boundary. It is a hard iron clasp. And I also expect the same thing. If you're in a relationship with me and you feel like you want to be with someone else, by all means tell me. I will let you go. Again, that limb is cut off. I will not think about it ever again, and I will be fine. I have that kind of love for myself, because it's unacceptable for me to be considered second best or to be considered another option. It's not okay. That's my boundary. It's one that's set in stone, okay? The other is honest communication, okay? And respect. Treat me like you treat yourself, we got no problems, because I will treat you like I treat myself, and therefore it is in balance. So I don't even have, I know I may sound a little bit like a hard ass in this sense, but those are my two only exceptions. Those are my two boundaries, that's it. I need to be treated with respect, kindness, and with the same level of love that I give myself, I will give you, and you will do the same, and now we're in balance. But that balance begins with you, because you are always teaching someone how to love you. And if you turn the other cheek on things that you have found acceptable before, or you don't have any boundaries, you will get a hodgepodge of a bunch of things that you're going to have to learn how to say no to or yes to. But at the end of the day, you must decide what those boundaries are, what's acceptable, and be able to convey them with no problem. That's it. That's it. Other than that, the most important thing to know is you're the one. It's not about the external relationship out there. The external relationship is your feedback loop, and that alone, okay? So whenever you get stuck Okay? When you're like wondering, what is he thinking? You should know what he's thinking. Or what is she thinking? You should know what she's thinking, because both bodies are you. So you must be able to look at the reflection with the objectivity of a scientist, again, playing with beakers, okay? And with that detachment, be able to observe what they are saying, because in every instance, the only thing that you are receiving is your feedback, okay? People do you the extreme favor of giving you a different point of perception. Now, if you are fearful in relationship, they will voice out the things you're afraid to face. These things will play out. That's why you're not supposed to be fearful, okay? Fear is the absence of love. And so if you have the absence of love, you will not have the quality relationship that you are looking for. It cannot happen. Why? Because the fear must play out first, and they must show you what you're thinking in order for you to understand the design. But it is always you with you. It is always light and shadow as one being, okay? If you can remain non-dual, your problems are solved. If you fall asleep at the wheel and you forget that they're voicing another point of perception for you to understand your mind in the moment, okay, that's perfectly fine. Just snap back out of it. Come back to non-duality and understand that every single body in the world is an illusion, including your own. There is no me and there's no them. I don't exist. I'm imaginary. I'm imaginary. I project my consciousness out into the world so that I can have a megaphone from which to show you what's going on the other side of the veil. I see through walls, I see through time and space, I see future, I see past, I see present as one whole thing, because that's what is. That's what is. But at the end of the day, this is what you're trying to understand. Your relationship is with yourself. You will never have problems in relationship if you always take responsibility for how you wish to be treated and how you wish to convey your needs, and don't keep quiet. Be authentic. Be authentically you, okay? If you've ever watched comedians and they joke about dating, one of the jokes that they tend to talk about, which I say it's funny only because it's true, many of us think or hide behind the world in a sense, like, I will say this, you behave in the way that you think will be appealing to them instead of being yourself. And that's a form of self-rejection that will then, whether you realize it or not, because you're making it about them, they will not appreciate you for who you are. They can't see you for who you are. So in that self-rejection, you're going to see people reject you. It's law. If the light and the shadow are one thing, then you can only see what you give the world. That's it. That's it. Okay? But I really wanted to talk to you guys about that, because it's one thing to not take on guilt, and it's a whole nother to accept abuse because you think, oh, you created it. Yeah, you created it so that you can establish how to teach others how to love you. That doesn't mean that it's okay. It is never loving to yourself to accept less than stellar behavior. It's just not. Okay? So I just wanted to come on and talk to you guys about that a little bit, because it's the most important thing you have to do is understand in every single moment you are in a relationship with yourself, and you are rewarded with an amazing connection, always, if you understand it is you with you. Okay? It's in balance. It's totally in balance. You can only receive what you give yourself. Okay? My biggest problem is the way that people obsess over me. I've ended up with and had more stalkers. I know that sounds crazy. I'm not even gorgeous or anything like that. It has nothing to do with that. But it's because they're attracted to my energy. It has nothing to do with what I look like. It's who I am and what I say and how authentic I am. And that's what they're drawn to, okay? And I draw everything. Not just the people that are like me, but I've also drawn the people that are seeking this type of self-acceptance. So they cling to me,
like a leech, and I usually have to back off, okay? But if that's your biggest problem, then you don't have any issues, do you? You don't have issues about other women. You won't have to worry about anything else. You won't be concerned about cheating. You won't be concerned with any of these things because you're in balance with who you are. And that is the most important thing that you can ever do for yourself. You understand this, okay? My mom used to talk about certain things all the time, and that was one of the things that she said. She used to say, and I'm sorry if this is going to sound insulting, but she would literally look at her watch and be like, baby, men are like buses. Do you know what I mean by that? And I would be like, huh? Buses? She says, yes, honey, there's another one coming every 15 minutes. Don't ever accept less than stellar behavior. The right one knows what to do and will bend over backwards to keep you in his life because he knows he found the impossible. Someone who's sure of herself, someone who loves herself, someone who is confident, someone who is able to convey her needs, no fuss, no muss, and is totally free of the neediness of codependence, okay? You want to be free of this codependency, okay? The biggest trap we will ever fall into is conditional happiness. I will be happy when I have my partner. Conditional happiness. It doesn't work that way. You are never seeking to complete yourself. You must understand you complete yourself first in your understanding and in your awareness, and then people add to that joy. But your happiness is never dependent on the quality of your relationship. That's a codependency. It should not be. Okay? It just should not be. You should not be codependent that way. And also when you're trying to manifest your ideal partner, you should always be happy and joyful yourself already and should not be hanging around by the phone waiting for someone to call you. That's needy. It's not cute. And men, believe it or not, because they also have the same telepathy, men or women, they will pick up on this neediness and they don't want to call. Do you know why they don't want to call? Because they don't want to pick up that burden, and they shouldn't have to. Okay? They shouldn't have to. And on the same side, I don't want to be responsible for someone's joy and happiness. No, they better be happy, and I'm going to add to that, but I'm not going to be responsible. Like, in other words, wherever I go, they have to go because they can't live without me type stuff. I'm used to this, but I don't accept it. In fact, it's a turnoff. I will push away right away. I'll back off, which is exactly what happens in the relationship when a guy kind of tends to back off. Correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, but you guys can feel it when someone is needy, dependent on you to make them happy. It's just not going to serve. It's not going to help. Okay? So it is really, really important to be okay with yourself. It's also really, really important to know what you want. It's also really, really important to have boundaries. It's also really, really important to have the balls to speak them out loud and not be afraid. Okay? You cannot be afraid in relationships. If you're afraid in relationships, you get what's called false evidence appearing real, which usually results in ghosting, cheating, narcissist enabling. What else happens? I can't even think, but you get where I'm going, right? It's a continual spiral, okay? That then results in several patterns. You want to inoculate yourself against these things. Okay? That's important. Last but not least, okay? When I say self-love, I am not talking about just this illusion of me. Okay? It is the first part that needs to be taken care of, but I'm not just talking about this, because if I do that, I'm being dual and I'm separating myself from another human being. If the whole world only exists in my mind the way that I believe, then everything is dependent on what is going on in my mind. So first and foremost, me, my self-concept, okay? And then all of my interactions with another person is then is then going to be indicative of how you treat yourself. Okay? That's the second part of the formula. Okay? This is biblical. The second part of the formula is then dependent on that and that alone. In other words, you treat this human being as you would yourself because it is yourself. This is correct self-loving mastery. Knowing that you are all things at once, this inoculates you from being on the receiving end of an argument. As an example, okay? If you forget and you get tied up in something and you say something mean to this reflection that you think is not you, okay? What's going to happen is in the next fight, they're going to spit back that same venom that you pointed at them, and it's going to hurt you a lot more. And in that moment, if you get really mad at what they said, you don't realize that you're on the receiving end of your own words. Okay? And this is true on a micro scale, and it's true on a macro scale. But in relationship, what you guys are learning is how to deal with the one-on-one so that you can know how to treat the rest of the world. But it's true regardless, and that's important. So when you're talking self-love, you have to remember that you're talking about the whole universe at once. The whole universe, not just, the illusion of yourself. Okay? That's true self-loving mastery. And that keeps you from being narcissistic because you understand the other balance of that. If it's only me, and you forget that the other part is also you, then you fall into a narcissistic imbalance where you don't realize that you're the narcissist, okay? So the check and balance occurs when you remember that both bodies are you. Now you're in balance, and this avoids you becoming the narcissist or the narcissist being enabled because you're in balance. It's very important to understand that, you guys. It's so important to understand that because you have to take into account if every single time you're the source projection of everything that you're on the receiving end of, then you better be right in here in order to receive what you're seeking. Okay? That's balance. I hope this helps you guys. I don't know if you guys have any questions or if you found this helpful, but I really did want to convey that because I did notice that when I get my coaching clients that are upset over the behavior, they're like, yeah, I know he's abusive, but if I created it, I must sit here and take that. No. That's not loving. Okay? And if you ever want a good resource of something that helps you understand that, there's a book called Conversations with God, and they start talking about love and relationships, and this is one of the things that they say. Conversations with God is probably one of the best books in the world. Since you are God, you will understand God's perspective, and if you can treat everyone else in the world this way, you are in balance, and you're just going to be set. But here's what I want to talk to you about. Mastery, true love. True love. Not the fake shit you think is love, but real love, absolute divine love, occurs when you have seen that both bodies are you. When you see that, okay? And you get so in tune with that everything you say and think to yourself, they will do. And they will confirm it. In my last relationship, I was called the puppet master, and I was called God. He called me that. Okay? And all that I did was say that he was God as well. Therefore, in being my higher self and being recognized as such by my reflection, I was in tune with who I was. And as a result, I gained a relationship that was out of this world. And when I say out of this world, I mean, I can't eat without affecting him. If I went on a juice fast, he had the poops, not me. It was so funny and so supernaturally in tune, okay? But It was always confirming the design, which is what we do, is realize that both bodies are you. True love is absolute oneness. Absolute oneness. And in that absolute oneness, you will find that you are the constant. Okay? And so I want to say that the reason that I don't fear breakups and I don't fear the illusion of separation, and I never treat someone as if I can lose them, and if they don't like what I have to say, I let them go easily, is because I know every single body in the world, including my own, is an illusion. Okay? So a lot of people say, okay, Sen, but I'm scared to let go of what I know for something different. Well, you're not getting anything. You're going to get the illusion of something better if you correct your own self. But you will still see the constant as you. You cannot lose you. So as soon as you stop acting like you can lose you, you stop having issues with people that leave you. Do you understand that? You're never going to lose. So someone will say to me, so what's on the other side? Do I get to keep the same man, or do I get to keep the same woman, or will I see this person in another body? That's up to you. But it's the same. It's the same. Every single body, and you guys have to understand this, every single body that you will ever see is nothing more than your living memories on display, your inner conversation actualized, formed into a bunch of little patterns that make you look different to yourself. But you are always looking at yourself. Okay? Everything in this universe exists in your mind. And the beauty of what we are doing here is discovering that we are the source, that we are in fact the light of the world, and that this is true of everyone. I am no exception. I am not special in any way. I will never say that I am, because all I can say to other people is namaste, meaning the light in me recognizes the light in you as equally perfect. That's the difference. But okay? But when you know this, like you know this, like you know this, you will never, ever, ever fear losing your love. You can't. You can't lose yourself. Go to the wall in a darkened room, go to the wall, right? And go play with your shadow and go see if you can separate from it. Go see if you can separate for it. Okay? Can the shadow act of its own will? Have you ever seen the shadow act and do something separate from what you're doing with the wall? It doesn't have its own will. It acts according to you. And I use this analogy all the time because you are and you have a responsibility to be the higher self in this world. You have this responsibility. Okay? This is how you prove that God's will is perfect and pleasing, because you are that God. But so long as we fear, we're going to see things that are less than stellar, because hello, if you treat someone as if they can hurt you or as if you can lose them, then you might. You just might, because you're giving the order from inside. You're giving the order from inside. You are the source projection, afraid of what you're seeing. Okay? So it's really important to not be double-minded. It's really important to know who you are. It's really important to understand that the key to life is knowing that you are the light. That's the key. Okay? And then you're also the shadow. So treat your shadow with respect. Self-loving mastery, I promise you, it is so, so beautiful when two bodies are one. Okay? It's so beautiful because you know what? When one of them's sick, you actually share the symptoms. Now, it sounds a little crazy, okay? But you hold each other up. Do you understand that? You hold each other up. It is so beautiful to trade perspectives. People don't understand that. You can trade bodies with your beloved at any point in time and see things through their eyes.
when you are absolutely in love, when you are love, when you are divine love. Everyone is seeking this union. It's a union that is beyond this world, okay? This is the type of union that opens interstellar gateways and lets you see beyond the veil. It is. You want to be enlightened? You got to love someone truly. And you got to be that love first. Okay? That's the easiest way to go about it. You can go through billions of meditations, you can do all this stuff, or you can be the divine love that you always have been. All right? So I hope that helps. I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. I hope you understand that absolutely no fear, and in every single interaction, if you judge something as separate from you and you spew out venom, that other person is going to react less than stellar. It has to. Put yourself in their shoes. If you're expecting them to make you happy and you're not happy on yourself, you're gonna not want that, right? If you accuse them of cheating or whatever, even if they're not cheating, but they're like, oh, they know you're afraid of cheating, eventually they're gonna cheat. They're gonna cheat, right? Because they can only behave as you are inside. So please, please, by all means, understand this. You are teaching others how to love you. You also have to be open to receiving love, and you can't be open to receiving love if you are in any way fearful. Because fear isn't love. Okay? Fear will never be love. Fear will result in less than stellar things that you guys will learn about. Now, there is no good or bad experience. Okay? And I will remind you guys of one other thing. Just one other thing. All right? If you guys find yourself in a pattern, in a repetitive pattern where you're tired of what is happening to you, think back. When did you do this to someone else? And are you on the receiving end of your own karma? And if you are, make peace with it, forgive everything outside, let go of what is going on so you can stop playing this trajectory. Because you have to always remember you are the projector who then gets to see itself outside. So if you are holding this notion of guilt and this idea of getting hurt and how this can repeat and you're guarded about this, then you're holding this possibility and you're projecting it outside, and you could get any variety of people to come play that role for you because you have no choice. As the light, the shadow must be what that is, and you're going to be on the receiving end of that. All right? So please, please, by all means, make peace with your past experiences. Do not hold grudges. Forgive first yourself and then forgive others, the illusion of others, because at the end of the day, you are the only one. You are the only one in this equation. Okay? And so in order to enjoy what you would call divine love and open interstellar gateways and see behind the veil and finally see how you are the universe and finally fulfill the scripture that you are and really truly be aware of what is, you have to let go of all hurts, pains, and things that have happened to you before and not treat the other person as if they're guilty before they've even had a chance to react. And by treat, I mean this, okay? You might not voice it, but if you're secretly afraid of it, you're going to bring it about. So please don't do that, okay? And hopefully you're lucky enough that you might only dream of them cheating, and at least in that way you've lived through that, because this reality is nothing more than a dream as well. Your consciousness is localized, and so hopefully the worst thing that will happen is that you have a nightmare in which they hurt you, okay? Then you've lived through that, and you're good to go. It's beyond you. You don't have to go through it again. If you've lived through that and you've had that type of nightmare, congratulate yourself. You just passed the test. You're no longer alive in that reality, and that is no longer a possibility, okay? Don't get upset when you have these dreams if you understand that this dream and this actual life is no different, okay? So that will help you. But the other possibility is you'll forget that you're dreaming, you'll be right here
thinking you're localized, and you'll experience people cheating on you because, again, if you hold that fear, that's going to happen. Okay? So try really hard to understand everything is you. Okay? And know how to love yourself. Decide what those boundaries are. Decide what's acceptable. Do not be afraid to speak up. Do not be afraid to speak up. Okay? I am like a unicorn with light shining out of my ass. Okay? Right? And I'm okay with that. Because the people that are going to be drawn to me are going to be drawn to me because they like that about me. And you are exactly that. When you really truly have accepted who you are and you don't have a problem with everything that's happened to you, that's totally going to help. It's totally going to help because now you're going to draw the people that really want to be around this energy. Or you're going to find someone who is equally yoked and equally loves themselves. And when that is in perfect balance, that's a pretty intense union. It's an awesome union, you guys. All right? So I love you. I hope this helps. Please remember to have your boundaries. It's okay to have them. Please don't be afraid to convey your needs. And please respect one another and be careful what you spew out because you are not talking to another human being. You are talking to yourself at all times. Light and shadow are one thing. One is not better. One is not superior. They are both one and the same. But you have to understand, until you realize you are your higher self and the world is your shadow, and you treat this as the only reality, you cannot see other people behaving as their higher self, which is the constant reality that actually exists in what you would call the 5D, I would say, because the higher self reality is the actual best that can ever occur, and that exists alongside the contrasting experience, which would be someone who is less than stellar, who needs to evolve a little bit more, or whatever. You see, both realities exist. You have to understand God's ideas are whole, always whole, okay? The past experience that just occurred that's less than stellar is also alongside that which is the absolute best case scenario. It is your job as the gatekeeper of both experiences to assert what you really want to see in order to enter that reality. Okay? And a lot of you are quantum jumping now. A lot of you are totally seeing how quickly someone can reflect what you are inside and totally change. Many of you have made so much progress in this area. Others have not proved it to themselves yet because they're not aware that the outer illusion only confirms what we're thinking inside. So that's okay. Just know that as soon as you start applying, not just listening to Neville, but applying what I'm saying, you will see the difference. Okay? So please, by all means, remember this stuff. Please do not fear losing your love. Please detach from the outcome in which you can lose your love, because you can't lose yourself. You can't lose yourself. You just can't. You know? So when you know that, you feel safe and secure, and you feel all cuddly and warm and good, and your happiness is totally not dependent on this other person. They're only going to add. They're going to add a lot of value. But you got to remember, you got to add value. Okay? All right. So I hope this was helpful. I hope this was a good talk on self-love. I hope I gave you a little insight as to why I am the way that I am. I'm sorry. I've been conditioned like this since childhood. This is my mama's teachings. It's the easiest thing for me to talk about because it's all I know. But it's also responsible for my happiness in life because I don't think I've ever been treated badly. It just doesn't, I can't really register that, you know? Because I'm not going to tolerate it. I'm completely immune to a narcissist. It's not going to happen. Like, ever. Never. Sorry. I'm going to meet them and I'm going to bring them to their knees and they're going to know who's the boss. If that's the case. All right? So, Please remember this, you guys. The relationship is with you. It's with you. You know? You can only be on the receiving end of your own beauty. All right? Know that you are it. You are the one, and you don't have problems. You don't have to worry about it, because they automatically, as soon as you don't, you ever notice that? As soon as you don't need someone, they're all over you. But if you're aching for them, they don't want very much to do with you. Okay? Have you ever noticed that? Let's put it on the receiving end, okay? Let's think of it like this. All right, so how many times has someone had a crush on you that you absolutely have no desire? You're just not interested, right? So now, I don't care how many times they bend over backwards, you're not interested, right? And there's nothing that someone can do to make you change your mind, all right? All right, but what happens when that same person takes their attention away? And suddenly you're like, wait, where did you go? It's an automatic thing. You don't even realize that you're doing it, okay? So please understand, there is nothing you can ever do to make someone love you. Please don't fall into that trap. Don't fall into that trap. There is nothing you can do to make someone love you. It's just not going to work, all right? But what does work is you love you, and then everything else is drawn. Okay? Remember the quote. Blind Pharisees do not work on the outside of the cup when it's the inside of the cup that changes the outside of the cup. All right? Self-concept being key, and choosing you being key. And not being afraid to speak up when something doesn't feel right. Okay? All right. So I hope this helps, my loves. I hope you think about what I'm saying. And just remember, if you are one with God, you are one with your undivided love. So please stop treating your love like you can lose it, because you will. Because you're the source. Reflection, deciding what happens to you. All right? Remember to be first cause. All right? If you in any way fall on victim mentality, or if things are happening to you, you are not behaving from first cause, and you are in the script unconsciously, unaware that your story is playing out. That is not a place of power, and you will feel victim to the 3D. And what people say to me is, 3D is kicking my butt. Okay? 3D doesn't kick your butt. Your story does. And if you're not aware of your story, then 3D, of course, will seem that way. But you're on the wrong end of the light. You got to be first cause of every effect. And again, that's why I gave my talk earlier this morning. It's not about being guilty. It's about taking radical responsibility so that you have the ability to be the solution rather than stuck in the problem. If both things exist simultaneously side by side, we exist in the middle as the gatekeeper, and we either get to look at the problem more or turn towards solution. All right, you guys, I love you. I hope that helps. Probably gone over just a little bit, and wasn't my intention to. I just really want you guys to think about this, and I hope this helps in terms of, you know, just because you created something doesn't mean you have to tolerate bad stuff. All right? All right. Love you guys. Bye-bye.